Each year, the Thayer School recognizes a graduate or friend of Thayer School with the Robert Fletcher Award, which is given in recognition of distinguished achievement in service in the highest tradition of the Thayer School of Engineering. When Robert Fletcher was selected by General Sylvanus Thayer and Dartmouth President Asa Dodge Smith to become Thayer School's first professor and dean in 1870, he was a very young 23-year-old Army lieutenant serving as an assistant professor of mathematics at the U.S. Military Academy. Over the ensuing 65 years of service to Thayer School and the neighboring community, 47 of those years as dean, Fletcher was to leave a long and lasting impression on generations of students. His accomplishments as director and teacher merged in the minds of his students with his qualities as a human being. So often we refer to Sylvanus Thayer as the father of the military academy. As he was the father of the military academy, so Robert Fletcher was the father of the Thayer School of Engineering. In addition to leading the Thayer School, Fletcher designed and supervised the construction of bridges across the Connecticut and White Rivers, waterworks for the towns of Hanover and Enfield, and for more than 40 years served as president and engineer of the Hanover Water Company. His many activities on campus and in the community contributed importantly to the development of Dartmouth as an institution and the prestige of Thayer School, the betterment of the local community, and the advancement of engineering education. The individual selected each year to receive Thayer School's Robert Fletcher Award must possess the qualities exemplified in the life and work of this remarkable individual. Today, we are proud to present the 2015 Robert Fletcher Award to Dr. Steven Chu. Steven Chu is the William R. Kennan Professor of Physics and Molecular and Cellular Biology at Stanford University. His research spans atomic and polymer physics, biophysics, biology, biomedicine, and batteries. He shared the 1997 Nobel Prize in Physics for the laser cooling and trapping of atoms. From January 2009 until April 2013, Dr. Chu was the 12th U.S. Secretary of Energy and the first practicing scientist, and I believe the first Nobel laureate, in our nation's history to hold a cabinet-level position. During his tenure, he began the Advanced Research and Projects Agency for Energy, known as ARPA-E, Energy Innovation Hubs, and Clean Energy Ministerial Meetings. He was also tasked by President Obama to assist BP in stopping the Deepwater Horizon oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico. Previously, Dr. Chu was director of the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, professor of physics and molecular and cellular biology at UC Berkeley, professor of physics and applied physics at Stanford, and head of the quantum electronics research department at AT&T Bell Laboratories. Dr. Chu earned an AB degree in mathematics and a BS degree in physics from the University of Rochester, and a PhD in physics from the University of California at Berkeley. He is the recipient of 26 honorary degrees. It will become 27 tomorrow when Dartmouth recognizes him with an honorary degree as part of Dartmouth's commencement. He has published 260 scientific papers and holds 10 patents. In addition to receiving the Nobel Prize, he is a member of the National Academy of Sciences, the American Philosophical Society, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the Academia Sinica, and is a foreign member of the Royal Society, the Royal Academy of Engineering, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and the Korean Academy of Sciences and Technology, all given in recognition of an outstanding career as a scientist, innovator, and leading policy figure. Please join me in welcoming Steve Chu to the podium.
Well, Dean Helbley, that was an overwhelming introduction. I can only fail to disappoint from here on in. But I'm very pleased to be here to address the Thayer School of Engineering, the faculty, the staff, the family and friends, and of course, the graduating students. I should tell you a little bit of why. First, my father was a chemical engineer, a professor of chemical engineering. My grandfather on my mother's side was a civil engineer, professor of civil engineering, so engineering runs deeply in my family. And also, I have to confess, I'm a nerd. In fact, I was so nerdy that I didn't even know you should keep it in the closet. For example, I still have a habit of putting pens in my shirt pocket. My wife hates this habit. She really tries to prevent me from doing this, and now she's making sure I only buy shirts with no pockets. And so I felt with President-elect Obama in 2008 choosing me to be the cabinet secretary, the first scientist, I feel like the Jackie Robinson of nerds. But I have to also say that I come from a very distinguished family of academics, and I was the first, I was certainly the black sheep of the family. The older brother and older cousins who went before me of my generation went to Ivy League schools. I applied to Yale and Princeton, got rejected, and went to Rochester, which turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. No one heard of my brothers or cousins. Now, my older brother got a PhD in physics, an MD PhD in biochemistry. My younger brother got a PhD and then went on to get a law degree. And so I only had one degree, and so I'm trying to make up for lost time. But I also learned when I was an undergraduate, having lived in the shadow of my family, that you get to college, no one's heard of anybody, and you can take the courses you want and do the things you're interested in. And I followed the advice of Oscar Wilde, which says, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Anyway, I thought I could talk about two things. I could talk about energy and climate change, or I can tell you stories about what life was like as Secretary of Energy. So I thought I'd tell you stories about that. First, I never imagined I would be Secretary of Energy. Neither did my mother, but my mother also never imagined I would get a Nobel Prize. The morning after I was told, I called her up. This was 7 a.m. in the morning, and I said, Mom, guess what? I just got a Nobel Prize. There's a short pause. She said, that's nice, but when are you going to see me next? Tiger mom. Anyway, she calls me up a couple of hours later and says, Stephen, it's true. All right, so I loved being a scientist. I loved being a professor and teaching students and also teaching graduate students and postdocs how to do research. And I never imagined myself being an administrator. With all due respect to the wonderful administrators who are willing to serve in that capacity, I was willing to be chair and a couple times, things like that, but always with the eye of doing it temporarily and stepping down. And so I've been asked, why was I willing to become director of Lawrence Berkeley National Lab or take on the role of Secretary of Energy? And it's no secret. The reason I took those jobs and the reason I took the first job was because I, as a citizen, was increasingly concerned about climate change and felt that science, engineering, technology, innovation were going to be the key ingredients to get us to a path of sustainability. And I said no twice to throwing my hat in the ring for director of Lawrence Berkeley Lab, but finally I said, well, look, maybe if I go there, I can convince some really outstanding scientists and engineers to get excited about this. It would be worthwhile. I was a graduate student, as pointed out, at Berkeley. I was a postdoc there. But during that time, I was also an employee of Lawrence Berkeley National Lab for 6 years. And this is an extraordinary place. There are about 15 people who've worked there, have gotten Nobel Prizes. But the much more impressive thing about this place is that graduate students, postdocs, beginning scientists, over 30 of them were trained at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. 30 future Nobel laureates. And that's a really high class of people. And I thought, if I can go there and get them interested in energy, clean energy, it would be worth it. And so that's why I went. In November of 2008, I got a phone call asking me to perhaps come to Chicago and talk to the president-elect. I again said, I don't think I'm going to be interested in a federal job. And he said, well, this is important. It's an important job. I said, well, how important? And he said, well, Secretary of Energy. And so I went there and spoke with the president-elect for an hour, one-on-one, in a very warm room. He grew up in Hawaii. And after that discussion, I came back and told my wife, if he asks me, I will say yes. And he asked me, and I said yes. And I went to DC thinking, if I can again bring and attract really outstanding scientists and engineers, it could really help change what we were doing. And during the time I was there, there were 6 members of the National Academy of Sciences or Engineering who were working in the department. 2 of them were elected in their 40s, but were still in their 40s. And so it wasn't as though they were all older people whose careers were behind them. At least 6, in my opinion, will be elected. And so the caliber of people was fantastic. Now, how do you get people like that to, in their 30s or early 40s, take on a government job? And it was a simple, pathetic plea. I said, look, I did this. Just come for 2 or 4 years. Doesn't matter. You have to help us save the world. And a lot of people bought it. So they came, but your job doesn't end there. When you get people of that caliber to come and work in the government, you have to do something else. And so the best thing I did was I blocked and tackled for them. Here's the ball, run with it, and I'll keep the bureaucracy out of your hair. And it was the blocking and tackling and saying that you should use your skills and also help recruit other really outstanding people and bring those people into government. You heard about mention of ARPA-E. It's called Advanced Research Projects for Energy. We started this with the idea that we didn't want to fund incremental work. We wanted to fund things that could be transformational. That means instead of funding singles, we wanted to fund game-changing home runs. But we knew that if you swing for the fences, you're going to strike out more. We fully expected that 90% of the projects would fail. We went into saying this, that we're going to do this. It's all right. But we want to do far-reaching sort of research. And we, in fact, discontinued a couple programs early with a consultation with those people and said, no hard feelings. That doesn't forbid you from applying again for something else. We value your attempt, your brave attempt. The program managers in that division were so good that they would, after deciding what to fund, what not to fund, design programs, they would give not only letters saying, congratulations, we're funding you, but to a large fraction of the people who were not funded, we're saying, this is the reason why we're not funding you, but you have 48 hours to respond, and we'll talk to you. That does not happen in a journal, let alone in a funding agency, but they were good enough, they're not going to go back and ask referees for their opinions of the response. They were so on top of it. A founder of 2 companies that we funded, he came and talked to me and said, what is it with these people? They are so good that they're actually helping us solve our technical problems. They met quarterly with the companies or with faculty members, and they're helping us write better business plans. So, when they leave, I want to hire them, which is actually what you want, to have that sort of quality of people. And so these were some of the things that we did. Mentioned Macondo oil spill. That's an interesting story. I'm going to look at my clock. That started, the Department of Energy has no jurisdiction over that oil spill. It was the Interior Department because it was in the Gulf of Mexico. I had made a suggestion to some BP people early on. They kind of laughed at it. It was using gamma rays to figure out what the state of the valves was. And after a couple of days, they said, he may be right. The president heard about it, and then after a cabinet meeting, he went up to me and said, Chu, go down there and help them stop that oil leak. Yes, sir. And so I thought about how I would do this and decided to call about a half a dozen people, mostly in academia, which would be out-of-the-box thinkers. They were not going to be petroleum engineers. They were going to be crazies who would look for, because this, this oil spill was a serious one, and you're already off the manual. And so the next day I called up these people. They all agreed to drop what they're doing and meet me down in Houston. And I said, oh, by the way, we're having a meeting at 8 a.m. tomorrow. And for the next 3 months, we spent a lot of time in Houston. And when people were not in Houston, it was really literally once or twice a day, emails, 7 days a week, talking about what are the potential solutions. 2 or 3 weeks into this, I began to realize that maybe we could add a little bit more to BP. I think they made a few decisions that didn't turn out to be good. So I finally told Admiral Allen, who is the incident commander, I think from here on in, before they do anything else, we're going to have to, we being me, would say, we're going to discuss this and we're going to have to approve it. Some of the members of my little informal group said, you don't want to do this, Steve. If you do that, you're assuming responsibility for what will happen. And I said, it's okay. Again, no committee, but it's okay because it's really important. It was a co-responsibility between BP and our little committee. And luckily, the president, and I wasn't asking permission from the president, luckily he was backing me very well, and so we decided to do that, and we did help them through a lot of things and through a lot of tough decisions, and I think we helped them avoid some more mistakes. Now, it helps that you can do this if you're not afraid of getting fired. It was one of those secretly I was thinking, make my day, fire me. I can go back in the lab. It also helps, I have to confess, that if you have a Nobel Prize, you might be employable later. Now, this brings me to you, the students. You have the skills that are incredible. And the beginning of what you can do, you have the means, you have the opportunity, you have the motives. So what is it that you will do, what you want to do? I can't give you advice on that. I had a lovely dinner last night and talked to a half a dozen of the faculty members in the School of Engineering and was mightily impressed with what they were doing. But whether it's a new generation of batteries or power electronics or biomedical tools or things that we can't dream of today, you have the opportunity to go out there and make the world a better place and help save the world, because many of your skills will be needed for sustainability and climate change. So I also have to tell you that not everything goes swimmingly in the department. I think in hearings, it's high theater. Senators and congressmen like to try to show that they're tough with members of the cabinet, and so it's a form of theater that you just have to be thick-skinned and not lose your cool. It's not always well with the large bureaucracy. I tried very hard to keep that in check, and as one Department of Management member said, please, can you stop all the mind-numbing and soul-sucking BS? I was only partially successful. So I'm finishing up now, and I would like to say to you, the students, things that we did in our philosophy for RPE, and what I tell my students and postdocs is that you should go out there and take risks, and don't be afraid of failing. You know, you're going to fail fast, and move on. And the final thing is, no one prepared me, and no one has prepared you for how fast time will go on as you get older. You probably noticed your 4 years at Dartmouth might have flashed or by very, very quickly, but it's going to get even faster. And when you look back, when you're old and gray like me, and you see what you've done, the choices you've made, think about, you want to be in a position where you say, I like the choices I made. I was willing to take risks, and you were willing to do things that you felt were meaningful and that can really help the world as well as you and your family. And so, to the class of 2015, I'm done. You guys weren't tweeting as much as I thought. I thank you for paying attention, and congratulations.